Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Now today is going to be a pretty special one. We're going to talk about why as an e-commerce founder, it is crucial for you to build omnipresence and an omni-channel strategy for your brand and how that is the key to long-term growth. Now you might be new to this channel. So my name is Omar. I'm the founder of O Growth Labs, which is the leading growth incubator for DTC e-commerce brands around the world. What we do is pretty simple. We specialize in helping e-commerce brands add anywhere from 1 million to 3 million in additional sales through our omni-channel project growth system in 6 months or less. Now, and I created this channel to be like the content hub that you'd come back to every once in a while to refresh the frameworks that you're using to grow your e-commerce brand and obviously make it a go-to resource for anything related to e-commerce growth as a whole. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into the video and I'll see you on the next screen. All right, guys, let's get straight into it. Now, the subject of this video will obviously be about omnipresence and why it is the moat that your e-commerce brand should strive to build. Now, you might be asking yourself, why bother, right? Why not just continue on what I'm doing? Why not doubling down on what already works, what is already proven? And obviously this will yield great results. Now, if e-commerce growth was as simple as that, then obviously a lot of brands would be in the 8-figure category. However, it's not that simple. Now, hopefully after watching my 2 other videos, you understand that you need to be interacting with your customers on every single platform that they're in. Some of you guys have customers through email, others have their customers, chilling on TikTok, others on Facebook, others have them on Google. So you will know where your customers are. And depending on the platforms that they're in, you need to be able to serve them contextual experiences where they are, right? You need to go to your customers instead of hoping that they come to you. So the reason why you should bother as an e-commerce founder to kind of build an omni-channel infrastructure is the following. If you want to be in a position where you're surpassing your growth rate every single year, then obviously you should strive to change what you're doing, right? And by assessing what you guys are doing, a lot of you will find that you're not actually being top of mind when it comes to, attracting customers and being there when they think about purchasing a product in your category. A lot of you will not be running ads on more than one platform. A lot of you won't even be, leveraging emails the correct way, right? And, not focusing on retention will be the surefire way to actually, put your brand in a death spiral. And so when you want to analyze your situation, what you're currently doing, you want to be able to answer this question. Are my customers thinking about me when they're thinking about purchasing a product in the category that we're selling in, right? So if you're selling skincare, do they think about you when they're actually in the market for skincare, right? If you're selling brain power supplements, are they thinking about you when they're actually looking at purchasing from that category? If the answer is no, then obviously you're lacking in omnichannel infrastructure, and that's exactly what we want to tackle. And so if you want results like this, when you're not actually depending on one single platform or one type of creative, one type of ad, to kind of sustain your growth, then obviously this video is for you. Now, again, if you're tired of interchanging service providers just to end up in the same spot every single month, if you have an amazing product but you don't know how to market it effectively, if you want fast growth and you're tired of settling for subpar results and you're committed and open to new solutions, then obviously this video will be for you. Now, the most important concept that you need to understand, and if you understand it, I think you'll be ahead of 99% of e-commerce founders, is that single channel marketing is dead. If you're relying today on TikTok because it's the hottest thing on the market, in 3, 4, 5 months, that maybe won't be the case anymore, right? So what happens then? Are you going to scramble and try to figure out which platform you're going to make work again? Or are you going to have an infrastructure on the back end that guarantees that, or even if TikTok loses some of its traction, you're still going to be ahead of your competitors? And so what you're doing right now is you're putting yourself in a position where you're not ending up losing months figuring out how to prop up the machine once it stops working. Because despite having one platform kind of die off for a few months, you still have the backend infrastructure that guarantees you're attracting customers, but more importantly, you're retaining those customers, right? And that's the key to long-term growth again. Now, why is single channel marketing dead? Now, what we used to have as a situation in the past was that Facebook would actually, spit out a number, which we called the return on ad spend. Google would spit its own return on ad spend. Email marketing would spit its revenue generated or a percentage of revenue generated through the emails that you launched. And obviously you could kind of guarantee that 90% or like anywhere from 80% to 95% of the tracking was accurate. So you could kind of base your business decisions on actually just analyzing these numbers here and actually judging the efficiency and the efficacy of a platform by just looking at the return on ad spend shown on said platform. Now, that's not the case anymore. Okay, that's just a red flag. If you ever get someone speaking to you about, ROAS or single channel marketing, they're still advertising like in 2018, 2019, and even 2020, okay? In 2022, uninformed business decisions based off faulty data and a fundamentally flawed metric, which is the return on ad spend. Now, the reality of today is this. Every single platform that you can think of that you're using today is kind of intertwined with the other platforms that you're using, right? So Facebook, if you're using Facebook, will be intertwined with TikTok, which will be intertwined with email marketing, and you'll have an overlap with Google as well. And obviously, those will contribute to the revenue generated. Obviously, there's also the organic factor that we necessarily don't want to forget. But in summary, just to keep it simple, these will be the acquisition channels and the retention channels that you will use to grow your business if you're doing things, correctly. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit murky. Now, let's say on Shopify that you see 120K in terms of revenue this month. However, you go on Google, you see 40,000. You go into Klaviyo, you see 24,000. You go into TikTok, you see 50. And you go into Meta or Facebook and you see 40. If you tally up all of these numbers, you get 154,000 from third-party tracking. So what's going to happen is this, you're $34,000 short. So where did that go? A lot of founders are actually puzzled when they see this type of discrepancy because they don't understand the reality of the landscape today. The real problem is not the discrepancy, okay? Because if you understand, how the landscape changed, there will always be a discrepancy between what you see on Shopify and what you see, from these platforms, right? From the ad platforms. So once you understand this, then you need to actually position yourself, incentivize people that work for you or with you to understand this as well. However, the majority of agencies today or service providers will charge you on this number here, right? So let's say, for example, you're a very successful brand and you're actually working with a Facebook ads agency. You're working with a Google agency, an email marketing agency, and a TikTok agency, and you're killing it every single month. Well, not really. The reality is that you're being fleeced because the Facebook ads agency will charge you on the $40,000. The email marketing agency will charge you on the $24,000. The Google agency will charge you on the $40K, and the TikTok agency will charge you on the $50K. So you end up being, fleeced because you're being charged on the $154,000 from the third-party tracking instead of being charged on the $120K, which is a huge problem. Now, what these guys fail to understand and what you as a founder probably don't know yet is that there is overlap, right? So for example, this $40,000 has a portion of it that was in part contributed by Meta, but also contributed by Google. Another one was contributed by TikTok, Google, and Meta, this part here. Another one that was actually contributed by all of the channels that you're using. So emails, Google, Meta, and TikTok equally contributed or contributed in part to this portion here. And so if you're actually paying people a percentage on what they actually generated, that's no issue at all. That's a great incentive. However, you're being double charged because you're being charged on this portion by the Google agency. You're being charged on this portion by the Facebook ads agency. You're being charged 3 times here. You're being charged twice here. You're being charged twice here, and you're being charged twice here. So it's just a mess, right? And you're losing money every single month. Even though they might be profitable, even though you might be actually getting good results from these channels, you're actually being fleeced. So the only solution is to understand that every channel, like I said, overlaps and helps each other. So you don't want to have a Facebook ads agency compete with a Google agency that's competing with an email marketing agency and that's competing with a TikTok agency. You want to have a holistic infrastructure where every single cog, which is an ad platform or a platform in itself, is a cog in the machine. What you actually want to have is someone who understands that all of these platforms actually help each other. You don't want to have a Google agency not talk with a Facebook ads agency, not talk with a TikTok agency, not having any clue what's being done on the retention marketing. That's just irresponsible in terms of marketing. And you're not putting yourself in a position where you're taking advantage of omni-channel dominance. Because if these people aren't talking to these people, that aren't talking to these people, that aren't talking to these people, then you have an issue. You can't really tailor an experience and have a holistic structure in terms of your marketing strategy if every single platform is insulated from the other. And so what we want to understand is that omni-channel is the only solution. And so what is omnipresence, or what is an omni-channel approach? Well, it's simple. The first thing is that it's about taking the time and making the effort to show your customers that your business is committed to building a personal, meaningful, honest, and mutually beneficial relationship. Now, we're not talking about ROAS. Now, this is far from the ROAS talk that all of these agencies are talking about. It's really just about basic human relationships. If someone was to come into a physical store of yours, if you had one, you would want the experience to be as personal as it can be, as meaningful as it can be, as honest as it can be, and as mutually beneficial as it can be, right? And so a lot of people, because we're in the online space, because everyone is kind of desensitized, We don't offer that to our customers, and that's an issue. So if you put yourself in a position where you're actually offering this to your customers, that's where the magic happens. And second thing is it's about showing your customers that you are the only company that engages with them on their terms. Some people don't want to be sold on Facebook. Some people don't want to be sold on Google. They want to be sold on email, right? So if you can understand this and tailor this experience to give them educational content on Google, educational content on Facebook, and not be as salesy as they want. Obviously, we can sell a little bit. However, if your customers really don't like it, then what's the point of going against the grain and actually pissing them off? The second thing is about showing your customers that you are the only company that engages with them on their terms. You need to understand where the most sales come from, right? If they come from email, you obviously need to double down on email and make sure that you're tailoring the experience on the other platforms so that it kind of serves the email better, right? If that makes sense. Now, the third point is that omnipresence requires more than marketing your business across multiple channels, because there's a multi-channel approach and there's an omni-channel approach. A multi-channel approach is just about using multiple platforms with the same messaging. A multi-channel approach isn't very effective compared to an omni-channel one. The reason being is because a multi-channel approach will actually just use different platforms with the same exact messaging. Whereas an omni-channel approach is about using multiple channels differently. And so from the first contact to the final sale to the point where they are loyal followers, all our channels are geared towards this funnel here. Whereas if you were biased towards only growing your ROAS, you would actually stop here. It really is a bad approach because it's basically two-dimensional thinking. You're not thinking 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. You're basically playing checkers instead of playing chess. Now, omnichannel, like I said, is about using multiple channels differently. And this is exactly why you should start to build omnipresence. First thing is people think of you first, right? So what I was saying earlier is that if your product is not top of mind, then you have a lot of work to do in terms of tailoring the experience and actually gearing all of your channels to serve that purpose, right? We want to become top of mind when customers are actually ready to purchase, right? And this means more direct visits to your store and less costs sustained from these platforms. The second thing is you become the authority. Right? People trust brands that they see everywhere. The third point, and the funniest one, is that you will stand out, right? A great omnipresent program actually positively differentiates you from your competitors and will put you in a position where you're kind of in your own league. And then lastly, you increase conversions because serving contextual experiences to your customers actually generates more sales, right? It generates repeat business because everything is done on their terms. And obviously that entails also long-term loyalty. And this is exactly what we want when we're actually looking to grow a brand long-term. Now, what I'd like to say is this: when you start building loyalty and you start getting brand recognition and people actually recognize your brand, you decrease the need for artificial attraction mechanisms. And what I call artificial attraction mechanisms are discounts, aggressive salesy marketing initiatives, bland offers that everyone else is using and the market is kind of numb to, which then result in low margins, a lot of headaches, and less profits, right? When you have loyalty and brand recognition, the profits go up immediately. Right? Because there's no need for you to heavily discount your products. You're the reference, right? You're the go-to brand for whatever you're selling, right? And that's an incredible position to be in, but it takes time to build. And you need to put in the work in terms of actually creating the backend infrastructure. Now, a lot of you might be asking, how do you actually start? Where do you start into crafting a backend infrastructure that will put you in a position to get to that point of loyalty and brand recognition where you don't actually need to discount your products? You do it if you want to, and you don't have to do it. Now, this is how you do it. This is about giving you tactical advice on how to start looking under the hood of your business and actually dissecting where you're lacking and where you should execute first. So first of all, what we want to do is have a quantitative analysis, right? What we want to do is identify what our LTV is, our AOV is, our purchase frequency, our cash multiplier, or our X day LTV. X could be 30 days, 60 days, 120 days, depending on the cohort of customers that you want to analyze. What we want to do is we want to identify the most effective SKUs on first purchase. Why do you want to do that? Because you want to be able to decrease your CAC. Remember the LTV to CAC ratio that I mentioned in my previous videos? You want to be able to act on that number. So if you know that certain products actually yield a lower cost per acquisition, then obviously you should start pushing those products. Now, the problem is a lot of brands don't actually know which products to push on first purchase. So doing an analysis on these metrics is essential to start the process. Then you want to do a qualitative analysis. 2 questions to be answered. Where are my customers and how should I interact with them on each channel? Should I give them educational content? Should it be aggressive selling? Should it be a founder to customer relationship where I'm actually giving them the feeling that I'm speaking to them one-to-one? All of the answers that you get from asking these 2 questions should be compiled, and you should always be asking them as you go. But it all starts, like I said, with the quantitative analysis. This is the most important part, because I'm guessing that every single founder that has some traction with his or her brand knows where the customers are and kind of knows how to interact with them. What I'm seeing is that a lot of founders don't actually know these numbers here, right? So we need to act on this, okay? And so on the other side of this, why you should bother actually building omnipresence for your brand is that you get less headaches, you get less stressing over ROAS and profitability, you get full control on the growth of your business, and you unlock sustainable growth every single month with predictability and consistency. If that's not enough for you, I don't know what is, but this is the surefire way to get you to 8 figures in sales and obviously maintain that level. We don't want your revenue to be a yo-yo. We want it to be a steady line that grows every single month and obviously grows every single year, right? That's the most important thing, because we're all in this in the long term, and understanding the math behind the business will actually yield so much more than the latest hack on the market. So hopefully you extracted as much value from this. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of this video, and I hope you extracted as much value as possible and that you kind of understood that Omnipresence is the surefire way to grow your brand to multiple 7 figures, 8 figures, even beyond. Obviously, this will not only enable you to make more capital in the front end and on the short term, but also kind of cement your brand as a market leader and as a reference in your customers' minds, which is exactly the goal that we want to achieve, because this alone will make sure that you're protected from any market downturns, from any competitors that kind of penetrate the market that you're in, and obviously protect you in the long term. Now, if you want to skip the learning curve, you want to skip the trial and error, you want to skip the money invested where it shouldn't be invested, and obviously the stress and the pressure, feel free to book in a call with myself and the team. We'll make sure to give you a roadmap on the next few months on how to actually execute on these paradigms and on these frameworks. And if it's a great fit, we'll make you an offer to start working with you on actually building Omnipresence and literally adding jet fuel to your brand in the shortest amount of time. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.